Mm.
How are you, Barbara?
How are you, Felice?
Baruch Hashem. How was Pesach?
Uh, ancient history already.
Where were
It was
you?
good. We were in Orange County.
Uh-huh. How was it?
It was very nice. Very
Mm,
nice.
nice.
Convenient.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was it was local. And you?
We were in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Oh, sounds lovely. I wanted to be in Panama. Didn't work out. Whatever.
Oh,
Hello.
how are you, Mario?
Okay.
Yeah.
I I love your background, Mario. It's amazing.
Oh, that's from the Gemara we did today.
No, it's amazing. It's fabulous. So wait, when does he give his daf? Right before this?
Again?
He gives the daf right before this class?
Yeah, today we did at 5.
Oh. How many people does he have in his daf group?
Sorry?
Do you hear me? Do you hear me? No? I'm on a wire. No,
Most of the same group. Well, not the same. We are 4 or 5 at the
how
that.
many?
Yeah.
How many?
4 or 5.
Oh, very nice. Do you hear me with the wire? I wonder am I making that noise? Do you think with the wire?
I don't know.
I bet it maybe it off. Okay, maybe I'll take it off.
Maybe it's you, yes.
Oh, that sounds better now. Maybe.
Yeah. A little bit again.
Mario, was there no announcement today? I didn't see.
Yes, it was.
I guess I didn't get it.
I know. I wrote it after you asked me.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for responding.
Something wrong with the sound?
No, I forgot to write it was at 8
Yeah, there's a
o'clock.
meeting now. Come on in.
Sorry.
How are you, Bernie?
Hi there, Faggy. Good.
We miss you.
Mario, am I the only one I'm having a hard time hearing?
No, I hear it. I hear the noise, but I don't know where
background
it's
noise.
coming from. Somebody has like a radio on
A radio on?
or TV on or something.
I just don't hear.
You know what? I'll mute myself and see if it's there because Ellie has the TV.
Your sound is, Peggy, your sound is a bit too loud. That's why maybe you have the volume too high.
Oh, I hear better. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I don't hear any background noise.
Hi, Shavuot.
Hey.
I am
Hello.
texting to everybody a picture right now. That we are going to use tonight. So you need to have your phones. You should all have it now.
Yes.
Okay.
What's going on? You can't get it. Why don't you just put it in my computer?
Ernie, is it in the chat? You put it in the chat.
I put it in the WhatsApp chat, correct.
Start off that it's very complicated today.
Yeah, now we begin the Daniel, which is
It gets complicated.
we begin the Aramaic part. We'll discuss that as we go.
Put it in the computer.
Okay, let me have my Mishbetzot Zohar. And I need here also, so put it to Perek Beis. Perek Beis, I put some writing there as well. No. Okay. The Pasuk Chaf Aleph, Perek Aleph is where we left off.
Mhm.
And it says, Vayi Daniel ad shnat achat lekoresh hamelech. Daniel lived until the first year of Cyrus, of King Cyrus. Let's say that. Now, I want you to follow the picture that I sent. You may have to blow it up a little bit. So we're going to go through the 4 kings of what was called the Median Empire, which became the Persian Empire. We are still now in the rule of Nebuchadnezzar. Yes, Karen, I sent a WhatsApp to everybody on the Navi Shir through the WhatsApp chat. There's going to be a picture there that I'm going to be discussing now. So we're talking about Nebuchadnezzar is currently the king, but he is going to rule for a certain number of times. He ruled for 45 years. He conquered Jerusalem in the 19th year of his reign. So there's going to be another 26 years of Nebuchadnezzar. So this pasuk that Daniel lived until the first year of Koresh, we're trying to understand what that means. So the 29 years of Nebuchadnezzar, then there was 22 years of his son Evil Mordach. Look at the picture where it says Bavel, to the right in Hebrew. Okay, no.
How do you access it? I'm trying to think how you access it. I'm not.
Do you see this picture? Did all of you get this picture?
Yeah.
I'm trying to see how do you access it. I'm just.
What's
On
up?
your phone, you go to WhatsApp. There's a Navi. Don't you get the Navi?
Yes, of course.
So
Yeah.
you should see a picture there. You just
I'm
click on the
trying. Wait a second.
Anyways, I'm going to read everything. So,
Okay.
but
Mhm.
if you have the graph, it'll be helpful. So you can have Nebuchadnezzar, Evil Merodach. So it's 29 plus 22. So that's what is that? 51, and then 3 years of Belshazzar. Then we have who's called Darius the Mede, Daryavesh the Mede. After Daryavesh the Mede, his son-in-law was the first Cyrus of Persia, who's known as Cyrus the Great. Now, Cyrus and his father-in-law, Darius or Daryavish, they were the ones who conquered Babylon. And Bavel became part of the Median Empire. And let's say Koresh is considered, let's say, the first Persian. First, Darius, after Darius died, Koresh ruled alone. By the way, during Darius, Daryavish, this Mede, after the Babylonians were conquered, that he's the one who threw Daniel into the lion's pit. And then the angel saved him from being devoured by the lions. And it's the first Koresh that you see after Daryavish Hamadi, who's the one who said, whoever wants of the Jews to go up to Jerusalem, you may go up to Jerusalem. That was actually 70 years to the date of when Tzidkiyahu was exiled out of Jerusalem. Now, who came after Koresh? It was Achashverosh, the husband of Esther Hamalka that we know from Megillas Esther. He took over as the king. He was not related to Koresh. He was a general who became the king. Then the son of Achashverosh, who ruled for 14 years, the son of Achashverosh was Darius II, who is known as the son of Achashverosh. He was the son of Esther Hamalka.
Esther. Mhm.
He was the son of Esther Hamalka. And he allowed now, even though Koresh, the great, the first Persian king, allowed the Jewish people to go up to Jerusalem, they had trouble rebuilding the Beis Hamikdash. The Shomronim, who were living in Canaan then, were causing problems, didn't let them build it. Finally,
I'm sorry, was Gedaliah, was he killed during this period?
no.
No.
Gedaliah was killed soon after Nebuchadnezzar took Tzidkiyahu. We learned that at the end of Malachim.
Right.
That he made Gedaliah the governor,
Right.
and he was murdered.
Mhm.
After the murder of Gedaliah, they emptied all the Jews. So there was a remnant for a period of time, but it got ruined when Gedaliah was killed. So Daryavish II is also known as Cyrus. So that's the question when this pasuk says, "Vayi Daniel ad shnas achas leKoresh HaMelech," which Koresh is it? So there's a machlokes in the Gemara between the Amoraim, Rav and Shmuel, in Masechta Megillah, Daf 15a. Those of you who know Megillas Esther well know that in the Perek, where Mordechai tells Esther, you're going to have to go to the king, and I know that it's a sakana nefashos for you, because if you're not called by the king, he could kill you. But you don't realize that perhaps for this is why you are sitting on the throne. You know that famous dramatic statement in Megillas Esther. Now, who is the intermediary between Mordechai and Esther? He's a person named Hasach. Hey Taf Chaf Sofit, Hatach. When we lane it, we say Hasach. Now, who is this Hasach? So, both Rav and Shmuel say that this Hasach is Daniel. Why is he called Hasach? The word Hatach comes from being cut. Chaticha, lachtoch, to cut. That he was cut down, he was demoted from his greatness. Now, according to this pshat, when it says now here, Vayi Daniel ad shnat achad leKoresh HaMelech, it's that the Koresh is the first Koresh who reigned before Achashverosh, who cut him down. That's why by Achashverosh's time, Daniel had been demoted, and it fits the Gemara that says Hatach means he was cut down. However, Shmuel holds that all laws were created by Hasach. He cut the laws from his mouth. According to that, Daniel is still a powerful figure in the time of Achashverosh. Therefore, according to Shmuel, when it says here, Vahi Daniel achnas achas leKoresh Melech, it means the second Koresh, who I said was Achashverosh's son, Daryavish Hasheni, who was also known as Cyrus. So he was still a powerful figure in the time of Esther's time. Now, according to that, Daniel was extremely old. Let's do it. Daniel was taken prisoner. He was 13 years old when Yehoiakim, remember, 9 years before Tzidkiyahu was when he was taken. If you add up until the reign of Darius, it's 87 years. Plus the 13 years, he's 100 years old. Now, according to Rav, the first opinion, he would be 85 years old. That's the two pshatim. Okay. The Abarbanel, of course, is the great Don Yitzchak Abarbanel, lived in Spain, was a financier and advisor to Ferdinand and Isabella. Susie and I were in the palace called the Alhambra. The Alhambra, where the Don Yitzchak Abarbanel had a visitation with King Ferdinand and Isabella. We were in the same room because they wanted, even though they were expelling all the Jews, they wanted Abarbanel to stay. But he left with the Jews and he went to Venice. He became a political figure there in Venice with the Jews, with some of the Jews who went to that area. The Abarbanel is a very modern thinker. So we know there's a famous person, Joseph Ben-Gurion, who we know as Josephus Flavius, who was a historian in the year about 30 CE, 50 CE, about that time. And we have a lot of documentation of historical things from Josephus Flavius. Some of it agrees with his history that's brought down by the Talmud, some does not. And some say Josephus tried to flatter his Roman compatriots, so he changed a lot of stories. Okay, but the Abarbanel says that when Daniel, in the time of the Darius the First, threw him in the lion's den, and he escaped, he asked the king to remove him from his service. The other nobles were now jealous, and he was now getting old. However, Darius did not accept his resignation until he would find a replacement for him. Daniel recommended Zerubbabel ben Shaltiel, who was the grandson of Yoachim. That's the Navi Zechariah in the Haftorah that we lay on Hanukkah talks about Zerubbabel. That's this Zerubbabel, the grandson of Yoachim. So Daniel retired to the city of Shushan, and he studied Torah, he helped other Jews, but he kept on receiving a salary from the royal court. And when Darius died, Cyrus becomes king. That's the first Cyrus. That's how Abarbanel learns that this pasuk of Vayi Daniel achnas achas leKoresh Melech refers to the Cyrus the First. Daniel eventually, there's an opinion that says he moved to Eretz Yisrael. But when the Jews had trouble building the Beis Hamikdash, he went back to Babylon to intercede on behalf of the Jews. Do you know that there's local tradition they know where the city of Shushan is, and there was a tradition that they knew where the kever of Daniel was. There was a traveling rabbi named Benjamin of Tudela in the 12th century who traveled throughout the world, and he wrote like a travelogue. There was a restaurant in Manhattan
Yes.
called,
Mhm.
and Susie and I ate there.
Yes, it was great.
It was very small. You're
Mhm.
talking about there may be 8 or 9 booths. It was almost like eating in someone's private home. But it was very high cuisine. I remember it was only open for a
Mhm.
short period of time.
I don't know what happened to it. Didn't last too long.
Today, we do not know where the kever of Daniel is. The Ralbag is the one who brings the Medrash and Shir HaShirim that when the first Cyrus allowed the Jews to go back to Yerushalayim, Daniel was one of the Jews that went back. That's what the Ralbag says. Okay. And you could, in the picture I showed, shows a little bit of this timeline. Very interesting comment by the Ramad Vali, who was a recent Talmid Chacham. He says like this: Hatzadik hazeh nikra Daniel. His name Daniel. Lefi shahaya shorasho min adin shel hakdusha. The word din means judgment. Lo haya roy litol gedula ela ad melos lebavel shivim shana. It was only after 70 years, 70 years after the exile from Jerusalem, that Cyrus the Great allowed the Jews to go back. And that's called Zman Shel Din LiYisrael. Kasher tamu hashivim shana uba Korsh melech Paras. When the 70 years were up, and Cyrus came, Sha'az itchil litorer chesed LiYisrael. This becomes the time where now things are being good for the Jews. Miyad Paska Gdulaso Shel Daniel. Daniel was not in the royal court anymore. Shaisaru uyalo bisman adin means before there was now chesed. In the 70 years before the chesed, the Jews were being treated with din. That's why his name is Daniel. The Gedula is now taken by Nehemiah. He is the right person to lead during the time of chesed. Like his name, Nehemiah, Nachem, which is a Lashon Nechama. Just like during the times of the Bavel, his name was Daniel because of din. His name is Ezra, is Nehemiah because of Nechama during the time of chesed. I think that's a very nice form. Okay. Let's start Perek Beis. Any comments, questions about this issue, the timeline and what we're dealing with here? No. Okay. Uvishnas shtayim lemalchus Nebuchadnezzar. Chalam Nebuchadnezzar chalomot. In the 2nd year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Nebuchadnezzar dreams. It sounds like multiple dreams. The word chalamot. Vatit pa'em rucho. Tit pa'em is like his heart was beating. It would like skipped a beat. Ushnato nita alav, and his sleep was interrupted. Now, Rashi on the spot tells us that we're not Efshar Lomar Cain. Remember, I said that Nebuchadnezzar conquered Yerushalayim the 19th year of his reign. So we're not in the second year of his reign. So we're talking about in the 21st year of Nebuchadnezzar, which is the second year of Nebuchadnezzar after he destroyed Yerushalayim. When we say Malchus Nebuchadnezzar, prior to his destruction of Yerushalayim and Melech Tzidkiyahu, he was not really direct king over Jerusalem because he had Tzidkiyahu doing it. Now that he's conquered Jerusalem, he's the direct king. So that's how the Meforshim learn that it's the Lamalchus Nebuchadnezzar over Yerushalayim. Says Rashi, it's just the second year after the Churban Abayis. Kach shnuya b'Seder Olam. In Seder Olam, which is a Tanaitic work, which gives us dates in history, it says clearly that. Karu Lamalchus Nebuchadnezzar al she Heras Dono likanis l'toch dibur Malchus Shalolam. He is talking about the Malchus of Yerushalayim. Up until the Abarbanel notes that up until he conquered Jerusalem, he wasn't king on a global level. But now, and especially in this year, the Yirmiyahu and in Megillah, they discuss other countries that Nebuchadnezzar reigned and became Malchus over the rest of the world. Now, when it says now, the V'tispaim Rucho, does that sound familiar to anybody?
I don't think it was mentioned with Paro, was it?
Absolutely was mentioned by Paul. Absolutely the same language, except it said Vatipaim Rucho.
Right.
Without the extra suf. But it has the same. Now, the word titpaim, according to the Medrash, is because it was repeated. That the dream was, because it says chalomot. Now, we're going to see that the dream had many parts. There was a head of gold, there was a breast and arms of silver. This was a statue. And then there was the dreams of clouds. This dream is going to be interpreted by Daniel as a dream about the future and the future of what's going to happen with different nationalities.
Ernie, but it says in one of, I'm sorry,
Yes, go ahead.
that he was anxious. He didn't even remember the Chalom. We're not just talking about wanting the interpretation. He did not remember the Chalom.
We haven't been right. We haven't been told that yet. We're going to see soon.
It says that in Rashi.
It says in Rashi, "Beparo nemar vatipaim, shelo nela mimenu." Paro remembered his dream. Right. Remember, he related to Yosef. I saw 7 cows. I saw 7 sheaves. He just didn't know what it meant.
Right, but here,
Kan nela mimenu gama chalom. Since here, Rashi, as Barbara points out, tells us that he didn't even remember the dream. That's why it says vatit pa'em, sort of a double language. And he was also frightened, and he was agitated. And Nebuchadnezzar, the way the Malbim understands, that this wasn't just a regular dream, but this was, he understood it had like a premonition of things to come. Nebuchadnezzar is going to ask from his great wise men for them to tell him the dream and say, not just the interpretation, but the dream itself. Now, the Abarbanel wants to say that he really remembered the dream, but he pretended to have forgotten it to test them. Pasuk Gimel. Oh, the Malbim explains that the Nihiyata Alav, he kept on sleeping. He didn't wake up, which was a sign that this may have been a prophecy. Like people who get a nightmare, they wake up because they're frightened. But he continued to sleep. So it was more of an inner struggle that Nebuchadnezzar was having. Vayomer HaMelech likro lechartumim. A chartumim are necromancers. Necromancers are people who call the dead to come back and tell us things. Like we know Ov the Adoni. People would put bones in their mouth and the dead would speak through the bone or through their armpit. This was a little bit of Kishuv. It's part of Kishuv. Chartumim being a necromancer. And then the Machashafim are magicians, where they make things happen, or the way Chazal explain, it really doesn't happen, but it's it's a sleight of hand. Lashapim are astrologers. And then finally, Lakazdim. These are the Chaldeans. Chaldean is Latin and Greek for the word Kasdim. Now, where's Avram Avinu born? Or Kasdim. He's born in this area. And it was a nation that practiced astrology. And we already said the word Ashapim means astrology. These were also wise people and advisors. The Chaldeans spoke in Aramaic. And we're going to see soon that the dialogue that they're going to have is going to be in Aramaic. Nebuchadnezzar came from this tribe, the Chaldeans. But the Babylonians had absorbed them. The Chaldeans were great in astronomy and astrology. And archaeology has shown that the Chaldeans were expert at this. Now, all of these wise men claimed knowledge of the future through whatever power they had, whether it was the bones, whether it was magic. We're going to see this episode, they could not respond to Nebuchadnezzar's request of telling them what the dream was, and certainly not to interpret it. And it's going to lead to their downfall. Now, you notice Daniel was not called. You remember in last week's Perek, or when we studied last, the Perek Aleph, he had found that Daniel and the other Jews were much smarter than the others. So the Ralbag asks, why wasn't Daniel called? So remember we said last time we learned that there was a 3-year internship that they studied for 3 years. And this is in the early part of their training, they weren't really experienced, ready to be asked. Now, that's the Ralbag is learning that this event happened in actually the 2nd year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. But we explained that according to Seder Olam, it can't be. That this is way into in the 21st year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Daniel had already been recognized as a big chacham. So the Al-Sheikh gives us 2 reasons why Daniel and Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah were not initially called with these other wise people. First of all, maybe Daniel had not had proven themselves by experience. They may have demonstrated wisdom during their tests, etc., but they hadn't been practically experienced. Up until now, the Al-Sheikh says they were very good at the art of reasoning, logic, but here it's not a matter, logic is not going to help a king who forgot his dream. So these sages are standing in front of the king. Pasuk Gimel. Vayomer lahem HaMelech. Chalom chalamti. I dreamed a dream. Vatipa'em ruchi. I'm agitated. Ladat et chalom. I want to be told what the dream was. So there is no now double. That's why it doesn't say vatitpa'em. It just says vatipa'em, because now he's just asking them for them to say the dream, not to necessarily give the pitaron, give the interpretation of the dream. It seemed that he would be able to recognize the dream if it was told to him. It's another reason why it's only a one taf. The Medrash says that he really knew the dream, but if he tells them the dream, they're going to come up with a bad interpretation. And he wanted to test their sort of supernatural powers, which isn't just hearing a dream and interpreting it, but coming up with the dream in the first place. And now Pasuk Dalid, we go into a new mode, Aramaic. Vaidabru Kazdim lamelech Aramid. So the Kasdians were the ones who spoke up. They were fluent in Aramaic, which was the language of the Kasdians. The other ones were of different, the other wise men were of different nationalities and had different languages. So they didn't jump in to speak Aramaic. They also were known for like reading people's minds. And therefore, their profession of knowing the future that fell into this category.
Ernie, it also says that the power they had was they used shadim.
Shady, like demons.
Demon, right?
Let's talk a little bit about Aramaic. So in the Gemara Yerushalmi Sota, it says, don't belittle Aramaic, because we see Aramaic in the Torah, in the Nevi'im, and in the Ksuvim. So we know there are two words in Aramaic, and they're in Sefer Bereshis. Does anybody remember those words? So when Yaakov and Lavan make a covenant, they call it Yigar Sadusa. Those are the only two words in the Torah that are written in Aramaic. Gal Eid. Eid Agal Hazeh. That this pile of rocks will be the remembrance of a covenant between us. And it says, one of them called it Yigar Sadusa. So it's in the Torah, it's in the Nevi'im, and it's the Ksuvim. Gemara in Sanhedrin 21b says that Ezra Sofer rewrote the whole Torah in Aramaic. Rav Yudah Levi in the Kuzari tells us that Avram Avinu's native language was Aramaic. And we see Lavan used Yigar Sadusa. Avram only used Aramaic for secular purposes. He used Hebrew for spiritual things. The Ibn Ezra says that Hebrew and Aramaic can be considered one language. Therefore,
Excuse me, Ernie, where did Avram Avinu learn Hebrew, Ivrit?
when he moved to Eretz Canaan,
Or who's speaking there? Were the Canaanim speaking Ivrit?
it's more logical to say that that's where they remember. Ivrit came from the Sinai Desert. The proto Hebrew alphabet starts in the northern Sinai, and then moves to the land of Israel. But remember, they had a different script. It was called script Livorno. And only in the time of Ezra, you're talking about 350 BCE, did it change to the Ksav Ashuri that we know. if you look at coins and things that are found from Israel from the year 600, 700, we don't, some of the letters we would recognize, the Lamed, but many other letters we wouldn't recognize because that was called Ksav Livorno. Okay. So I would say maybe he learned it when he Lech Lecha, when he went to Eretz Canaan. Rav Yishmuel Yehuda Katzel Eligbogen, who was a great Talmudic scholar in the 1500s, says that a get has both Hebrew words and Aramaic words. You're not supposed to write a get in two languages. You see what the Ibn Ezra said is considered one language. The Ramah says that Aramaic has special Kedusha because the Torah was given in both Hebrew and Aramaic. Now, so why are we going to see so much Aramaic in the book of Daniel? So the Jews in their Babylonian exile spoke Aramaic. However, the written word, especially for tefillah, for sacred purposes, remained Lashon HaKodesh Hebrew. That's why the Sefer started in Hebrew. But now, when we have a dialogue between Nebuchadnezzar and his wise men, well, we get the dialogue untranslated. They spoke Aramaic. So we're being given the dialogue as it happened, without translation. Now, I'm going to translate it in Hebrew as we go through this. Where did I have that? Yeah, here. The Ralbag gives us a nice Hebrew translation of every one of the Aramaic psukim. Now, when Daniel has conversations, we'll see, there was a executioner that Nebuchadnezzar used named Arioch, and Nebuchadnezzar himself. Those dialogues are going to occur in Aramaic. When Daniel has visions and he relates the visions, he's going to relate them in Aramaic. Now, in the later chapters, from Perek Chet to Perek Yud Beis, that's not a recording of spoken words. The first time those words were ushered is when they were put in writing. So therefore, they're written in Hebrew and not Aramaic. So when we get a dialogue from Daniel, or he talks about visions, and then the Navi records it, it's recorded in Aramaic. Later on, the visions that Daniel sees but are not spoken are going to be written directly in Hebrew. Okay? The Ramban, from the words Vaydabrua Kazdim Lamelech Aramid, seems to imply that Nebuchadnezzar also spoke Hebrew. How is that? Says the Ramban that Hebrew was spoken in governmental circles of those days, just like English. Let's say 100 years ago, French was the international diplomatic language, and people had to learn French if they wanted to be a diplomat. Now we would say that the lingua franca, they used to have a term, the lingua franca, which was the basic language that you had to be. Today, the lingua franca is really English. I'm sure Felice remembers when French was a very important language. In the UN and all that was all translated into French. But so it sounds like Hebrew was a language that was known by other governmental officials. Okay. So how do they start? Malka la'almin chayim. O king, you should live forever. They want to start off by trying to calm his nerves. That you, king, will live forever. We have only good will towards you. We're speaking your native language. That would help the king trust them. They wanted him to reveal their dream to him so they could interpret it. The Gemara in Bracha says all dreams follow the interpretation. And they thought that the king actually remembered his dream. He just doesn't want to disclose it to them because he's fearful of getting a bad interpretation. Emor chalma la'avdecha upishra nechave. They ask him, please tell us the dream. Upishre nechave, and we will tell you its interpretation. The word pshara from like
Pitron.
well, shin is changeable with the word taf.
Tough.
So pitaron, peter, right? Pesher, that's Aramaic and Hebrew. We'll learn some of the connections between the two. They basically are saying, we cannot come up with a dream. We can interpret it. We can tell you what the future is based on the dream. But you got to tell us the dream. And not only that, even if it's a bad dream, by telling it, it helps. The Gemara in Bracha says, if you have a bad dream, go to 3 friends and tell them. And say, I've seen a good dream. And the friends should say, oh, it's good and it will be good. So they basically wanted to avoid any bad things happening. Pasuk Hey. Ana Malka, the king responded, V'omar lakazdoi, and he told the Kasdians, Milsa mini azda, I don't remember it. The thing has escaped me. Hein la tahoduunani chalma upishra hadomin titavdun uvatecha nevola yitshamun. If you don't tell me the dream, and now he says, and its interpretation, I will cut you into little bits, and we will turn your houses into a dunghill. So now they know for sure that he doesn't know the dream. He wants the dream itself. He's not just interested in the interpretation. He's not just interested in the interpretation. He needs it that the interpretation is the only interpretation. Pasuk Vav. Ve'hen chalma upishri techavon. If you interpret the dream, meaning if you tell me the dream, the chalam upishre and its interpretation, matnan, gifts, unavi zaba, rewards, v'yikar, great honor, shagi tekablu min kadmoi. I will give you all of these. But lehen chelma upishri achavoini. You must tell me the dream and its interpretation. Rashi says the word nevizba is doron, which is a gift. Now, there's a difference between something called a mincha and a matana. You give somebody a mincha as a repayment of a favor or an obligation. A matana is a gift without any previous consideration. When you offer something to Hashem, it's a mincha because it's a repayment of a favor. Because we use the word Right, because the Chazon Lamoed says that the word Nevizi Ba is Aramaic for mincha. So you have a matana and a mincha. And we've explained the difference. Pasuk Zayin. Ano tinenunis v'amorim. So they answered, which is again, Malka. Please, King, Chelma Yoamar. Tell us, Lavdoyu, tell us your dream, Upishra Nachave, and we will interpret it for you. Ana Malka v'Omar, the king responds, Min Yatziv Yada Ana, I know now, Di Idana Antun Zavnin. You are doomed. And you see that I don't know the dream. Kol Kabel Di Chazisun. You see that I don't know it. The Azdam in email said that the thing itself has escaped me. And he's basically, the Alshich says, that the fact that they're repeating multiple times that you're requesting for me to tell you the dream, it's just it's a game. That they don't want to contradict his version of his dream. He's annoyed the king that he has forgotten the dream, and therefore he needs to be told what the dream was. And if if they cannot reveal it, they deserve to put to death. Rashi says that they were being sentenced to death, not just because they were unable to tell Nebuchadnezzar what the dream was, but that they were insisting that he reveal the dream to them. If they just said, we can't come up with your dream, maybe they would not have been executed. But by repeating it, they angered him. Pasuk Tes. Dihain Chelma lo duni. If you don't make the dream known to me, chadihi datchon. There's only one sentence for you, which is death. Umila kidva ushchita, he's damnetun lemeamer kadmoi. You are sort of lying and being corrupt in the words you speak to me. Adi idana yishtane, until time changes. Lahen chelma amaruli, just tell me the dream. The inda, I will know the pashra techavnun. And I will understand it, if you tell me the dream, that it's an interpretation. It's again threatening them to death. He says it until time changes, which is really, he's threatening them with execution. Pasuk Yud. Ano kazdoi. The Kasdians responded, Kada malka va'amrin. Lo isi enesh al yebeshta. There is no person in the world, di milas malka yuchalach voya, who can do what you're requesting. Nobody can know what somebody else's dream was. Kol kabel di kol melech rav shalit. There's no king, ruler, or leader who've ever requested mila kedna lo sha'al, anything like this. L'chol chartom va'ashav v'kastoi, to any necromancer, astrology, or Chaldean. You're asking something that is beyond human capacity to do. It requires nevuah. And the Medrash Tanchuma, this is what I want to conclude with tonight. They said Aaron HaKohen is not here. The Aaron HaKohen used to wear the Urim v'Tumim. the breastplate, and he would utter the Shema Meforash, and they would get answers. But we don't have that. It's only when Hashem, the Medrash Tanchuma continues, only when Hashem dwells among his people can that happen. So Nebuchadnezzar told them, well, ask of Hashem. So they said, no, his dwelling is not with the people. The temple was destroyed, so Hashem's presence doesn't rest. So listen to what Nebuchadnezzar says to them. So great was the power of that temple, yet you advised me to destroy it. And because of this, the king flew into a rage and had them put to death. So the Medrash says that it sort of stood everything on its head. Nebuchadnezzar now realizes it was a mistake to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. It had tremendous power, and his advisors told him to do so. And now he sees, now we'll see, Daniel is going to come to the rescue. And we'll show that in certain circumstances, Nebuchadnezzar can access the great holiness and spirit of the Shekhinah even without the Beis HaMikdash. So that's I think we get a nice taste of the Aramaic flavor, which I think we'll be able to negotiate bit by bit, learn maybe a little Aramaic, and there's a lot more to say. Anybody else have any comment on anything, on any material that you found in your studies or you want to share with the group? Okay, so we're back on schedule next Sunday. I want to invite everyone Wednesday night at Eula. Right? It's at Eula, correct? There's a Yom HaAtzmaut and Yom HaZikaron. The day before Yom HaAtzmaut is a Yom HaZikaron for the fallen soldiers in the battles of Israel. And then there's a Yom HaAtzmaut, Tfilat Chagigit with Hallel. And so everyone Wednesday night, it's on your calendar. And then the Navi Shir will, again, next Sunday night.
Sunday.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good
Thank
week.
you. Thank you.